Hello and welcome to the Degenerate YouTube channel. Steak is back. Myself, we're here again every week. We like to provide you with our best bets in the college football season. Week 6. Oh God, that's 50%. That's halfway through.
Oh God,
That's.
nothing goes by quicker than college football season,
I
man.
was just gonna say that because I think about NFL and it's like, man, we're just getting started, but we have 18 weeks there, and well, we got playoffs in college football, so it's not like the season's over and then bam, it's done. So that's
It used
good.
to be like that though, because the
Yeah.
Final Four or whatever you call it, you wait a month for that, and then that's
Yeah.
over, and then there's so many meaningless bowl games I don't give a shit about.
One of the worst things in sports was waiting a month for the championship with
Yes,
like no games played. It's like you're getting an entirely different team out there. Anyways, week 6, we've enjoyed doing these videos. We appreciate your guys' feedback on them. It's been pretty solid so far. We did not plan to both wear our Picket sweater when we came on to do this video. However, neither of us are going to change, so we're just going to be court bitches. We are presented by Picket Sports. Please go download Picket, sync your sports books, track your wagers, use promo code DJ whenever you do, and make sure to follow us on there. You'll always see our wagers. And coming into this week, you were traveling. I put this in our newsletter that we also have. You should subscribe to that. You can do so for free on our website, thedegenerateweekly.com. And while you're here, like the video, comment something. Appreciate all the comments. Subscribe to the page. Steak was traveling. Steak was in, were you in Wyoming or Montana? I'm getting it mixed up. You're in Montana,
yeah.
which looked great.
Mhm.
And so we haven't necessarily been as locked in on this week's slate as we have been, because you got back, I believe, Thursday. We had a couple spots that we aligned on. We had 3 bets in the newsletter that I really like, but there's still about 4 or 5 wagers you text to me that I'm like iffy on, and there's about 3 or 4 that I have that I like. So we'll see what we get, how we come out of this, if we're both in agreement or if we disagree on those bets. So a couple games tonight, Friday, October 3rd, that we're going to pass over, and we're going to get right over, get started on Saturday. Pretty good noon slate, which I like, but I don't like in a weird way. I mean, do you remember when you came up to New York City last year for T Squared?
Yeah.
And we had that watch party.
Yes.
And the noon slate had South Carolina, Alabama, and South Carolina almost beat Alabama, and we really were invested in that game.
Yeah, I had a money line. It was like plus 1,200 or some shit.
And then by the time the night games got here, it was LSU Ole Miss at 7:30, and then it was Oregon Ohio State. We were kind of gassed, So
that's more on us than the slate, to be fair. Like I was kicking back shots of tequila by like 12:30 p.m.
That's true. But you know what? In a way, like last week just had a lot of big games at noon. And I think it got started with not Oregon, Ohio State. What was the other big noon game last week in the Big Ten? Was it USC?
Yes,
Illinois
USC,
was a pretty big one. There were a couple big ones, and I was like, man, I'm exhausted. But these are the perfect types of games I like to start noon with. So without further ado, let's get right into it. All right. Let's start with Kentucky and Georgia. Now, these are SEC. I'm not going to call them rivals, but Kentucky likes to muck it up, in my experience. Mark Stoops is a guy that I think has done a fantastic job of getting himself paid for not doing a very good job. Kentucky's like, you're successful if you win 8 games, you're just in the good graces with everybody. That's where they're at. Well, they're 2-2 this year. They're 1-3 ATS. And I'd hate to admit how many times I've been involved with this Kentucky team this season. So I got fucked week 1. I had them -10 against Toledo. You and I were having some fun in that game, and I took their team total. Calandria, their quarterback, was no, not Calandria. What's his name? Calzada. Yeah. Had a terrible performance. Toledo backdoors. Then in the Ole Miss Kentucky game, Steak, we had the under. I believe it was for 50.5. Late field goal by Kentucky to push that over 30-23. They did cover as a dog in that one too. And then against Eastern Michigan, I took Kentucky. I said, this is the spot at home before their bye week. They're going to come through and they're going to kick ass. Well, they put up 48 points. So I was right there. But again, Eastern Michigan with a late backdoor cover, -25.5, 48-23. I lose by the hook. So I've been involved with Kentucky games 3 weeks in a row. I've been a little familiar. I can't watch them because they're hideous to watch. They come out of their bye week. They play at South Carolina, and South Carolina put an ass whooping on them. 5.5-point underdogs, Kentucky was. They lose 35-13. Now they're on the road, and they're playing Georgia. Georgia's coming off of a loss to Alabama, which, by the way, don't panic on your Alabama wagers. I know you were a big Alabama guy in the offseason. After that lost FSU, they look like they're getting right. They're looking a lot sharper. They lost that game 24-21 after winning in Tennessee 44-21. And this is an interesting game. So we talk about when we bet college football, we talk about spots, and you look at the schedules. Well, you zoom out, bird's eye view, Georgia, you got the last two games at Tennessee, Alabama. Then you got this game against Kentucky the week before you go play at Auburn. And I know Auburn isn't some juggernaut. They came into the season with a 7.5 win total, but they've been pretty damn good as of late. So you know Georgia's probably looking forward to that game a little bit. This is an interesting sandwich spot. Not going to say, I'm not going to claim it and label it officially, but 20.5 is the number I'm seeing. Do you want to, we know Kirby Smart doesn't cover big spreads very well. You want to get involved with this one? Total's 48.
I would give serious pushback on calling this any type of sandwich spot or look ahead game, but I'm comfortable with you saying it could be a sleepy game after that amazing game with Tennessee and pretty good game with Alabama. Like, those are both really competitive games. I don't know if Georgia came out happy losing to Alabama. Obviously, they didn't. But Kentucky is weird because they just lost to 22 by South Carolina, but their true freshman quarterback, Cutter Boley, started that game because Zach Calzada was injured. Now Zach Calzada is probable to start this game. But first glance, I look at this and I think 19.5 points is not near enough for Georgia to be giving Kentucky at home for a team that just lost to South Carolina, who's been pretty terrible by 22 points.
Exactly.
I know it was with the backup quarterback, but to me, if you want my first glance at this line, even though I don't think I'm betting it, I think it's baiting the shit out of you to take Georgia at home. Because what's a more obvious bounce back than Georgia at home against Kentucky after losing to Alabama for the second year in a row?
Yeah, and Georgia, you're basically saying, hey, Georgia has to beat Kentucky by as many points as South Carolina just did.
Yeah.
Georgia's going to be pissed. Georgia's better than South Carolina.
Yep.
Also, I'm having deja vu. You sniffed out Kentucky last year against Georgia. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was like your gross play. Yep, played them really close. So maybe this is a thing Kentucky does. They could punch above their weight class. They really did give it all against Ole Miss, and Ole Miss kind of turned it up late in that game, but it was closer than the scores indicated. Go ahead.
I might take Kentucky again. And honestly, the only game I thought, well, the two games I was impressed by, I think beating Toledo is impressive. Toledo is really good. I know they didn't cover the spread, but beating Toledo is not easy. That's a good team. And then they kept it close with Ole Miss. And I liked a lot of what I saw from Calzada in that game. And I thought covering was impressive, especially now that you see Ole Miss is the real deal, man.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. I like where your head's at. All right, let's keep moving. Again, a couple interesting games in this noon slate. We do have an official bet in our newsletter. We'll talk about that one in a second. First, just briefly, Steak, do you have anything in South Dakota State against Colorado State? I do not.
Wait, isn't that tonight? Isn't that San Diego State?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It is. My bad. That was on here. Navy Air Force. Navy's 12-point favorites. Total is 53. I had a thought in this game. I don't necessarily know that I have a wager, but I wanted to get your take on this. So do you remember the bet I was telling you about last weekend late? As like a nasty, nasty play that I wanted, and I didn't have the balls to do it. Do you remember? Hawaii.
Yeah.
I kept telling you, I said, all the same people, the smart people I listened to all week that were talking about fading BYU at Eastern Carolina because of the travel spot. Eastern Carolina was 6-point dogs. They were taking East Carolina. BYU beat the shit out of them. Those same people were then fading Hawaii, and they were taking Air Force at home. Air Force's offenses look great. They put up a lot of points. And Hawaii, bad travel spot. They just lost a game. I don't think they were supposed to lose. Their quarterback had 3 interceptions. Air Force was a 6.5 point favorite. They lose outright. Hawaii wins the game. This Air Force offense can move the ball and can score points, but their defense is atrocious. That is the one thing I was thinking about leaning into here. So the total is 53. Okay. I think, well, actually 52.5 now. It's a little bit shorter. I think your specialty is looking at these totals and going through and saying, damn, what have these teams done? What numbers have these teams games landed on that this team's played so far? Well, they've gone over in all 4.
Yeah.
62 points, 79 points, 86 points, 79 points. Those are the 4 games that Air Force has played. I think what the 53 is telling you is that Navy is going to control the fucking ball and their defense is probably going to play well. Navy is a team that's coming off a 21-13 win against Rice. They are 3-1 to the over, which again would make you think this total should have more. But they have a veteran quarterback in Bo Horvat. I believe that's his name. Yep.
Blake.
Horvat. Oh, is that what it is?
I thought it was Blake Horvath.
Oh, maybe you're right. Horvath. Yeah, I thought it was Horvat. You're right. Blake Horvath. My bad. But I think this guy is good enough to control the clock, keep Air Force's offense off the field. And I kind of like Navy minus 11, 10.5 on Fanatics, or I like the under. What do you think?
With you on the under, not with you on Navy, and I'll tell you why. I agree with everything you just said, by the way, but the problem is it's a service academy game, and these have like 85% record to the under. So every time one of these games happens, someone reminds you, oh, these unders are 60-12 in their last 72. And so I don't know how much higher you can make it, but everything you said was true. It's an absurdly low total when you look at the body of work for these teams. Mm-hmm. Everything I've heard about Air Force is that they might have the worst secondary to ever play FBS football. Literally. I think statistically they do. And so then I looked at the game and I thought, well, who's the last fucking guy in the world I think could take advantage of a horrible secondary? And it's Blake Horvath, who's only completed 26 passes this year. So I like Air Force in the under, to be completely honest with you.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe the under will be a play. That'll be a nasty noon play. Let's talk about another nasty game. Clemson at UNC. Looks like Clemson's a 2-touchdown favorite here. Total's 46. I'm so sick of this Clemson team. And I've put my money where my mouth is a few times and faded them and been happy to do so. But I got to tell you, Steak, this isn't really a spot where I'd want to do it. And I'm wondering if that means you should. North Carolina is horrendous. They are 2-2 on the season, but they did just get their ass kicked to UCF 34-9. 2 games they've won this year, Richmond and Charlotte. And we know what happened in week 1 against TCU. We thought the Clemson get-right spot was against Troy. In week 2, it was not. They won, but they didn't cover 30.5 points. They go on the road against Georgia Tech. Surely they're going to beat Georgia Tech on the road as a 3-point favorite. They did not. They lose. Then they come back home. Bounce back spot again for Clemson. They lose outright as 17.5-point favorites. There is no such thing as a get right or bounce back spot for this team. They are so bad. Or is it today? Tomorrow? Whatever. You know what I mean? Saturday. What are we doing here? Total's 46.
I think this is an impossible game to bet, man. I really do. What do you want me to say? Clemson still to this day has 3 guys on defense that might go top 15 in the draft. Cade Klubnik, who could still be a first rounder, a receiver who could still be a first rounder. They should be able to absolutely fucking destroy this horrible, horrible North Carolina team. I mean, North Carolina is horrible. They just lost to UCF 34-9. And UCF is not good. No. UCF just got belted by fucking Kansas State. But I can't take Clemson. I can't do it. I cannot bet money on Clemson. So I don't know how you bet this game. I don't think the total's weird because these offenses struggle so much. It's a rough game. This is a rough game. I made a joke about it last week because I saw it was coming up, and I literally don't know how you place a wager on this game.
I was almost wondering, I mean, if I just want to set it and forget it, hit Clemson. I could kind of see maybe what Oklahoma did to Temple when they came in there and you just steamrolling them and winning like 42-3. But then I was also wondering, after UNC just lost 34-9 or whatever it was to UCF, shouldn't Clemson maybe even be favored by more if that's what was going to happen?
Probably.
No? Like, why couldn't this be 20.5? I know Clemson's terrible, but like at least they lost by a touchdown to LSU and 3 points to Georgia Tech. I don't know, man. This is
it
weird.
It does seem short. I'll say it. Seems short.
Yeah. All right, we can move on. Not much for us, I'm assuming, in Ball State or Ohio or Army UAB, unless you've got something, let me know.
No.
Okay, let's talk about our first bet. This is in our newsletter. Pittsburgh hosting Boston College. I went through the board on Wednesday's board review. Again, our schedule was a little messed up because of my work and Stakes travel. But when we were texting, you were on the plane back, you were going through the board, and you text me some plays you like. The one that I did go over on Wednesday that I fell in love with was Boston College. You texted me Boston College. I almost fell out of my chair. I was so excited. They're 6.5-point dogs on the road against Pittsburgh. Total is 57. Pitt is coming off of a game, actually 2 games, they probably should have won. They lost 34-27 at home to Louisville, and they lost the backyard brawl at West Virginia. They were up in that game. They were a touchdown favorite. What I really, really like is this spot for Boston College because I think they're going to come in here and they're going to be a little overlooked. Now, you might say Pitt can't overlook anyone at 2-2. I get that, but they do have a big trip to FSU on deck next week. And Boston College is a team that I think is losing a lot of respect by everybody in the college football world. They're 1-3. They're only one being to Fordham. They lost Michigan State 42-40. They lost to Stanford, 14-point favorites outright. And they just lost to Cal at home, favored by a touchdown, 24-18. Love Boston College in the spot to bark when nobody expects them to. Steak, you agree?
100% agree. Mostly because I don't really like Pittsburgh, and I'm not impressed that they kept it close with Louisville because Louisville hasn't looked very good. I'm definitely not impressed with the fact that they lost to West Virginia. That's a horrible loss, looking at what West Virginia's been doing since then. On the other end, Boston College, maybe I'm reaching here, but I really do like Dylan Lonergan, the quarterback, and the Stanford loss was bad. I'll toss that out of the window. Really bad, but it easily could have won the Cal game and easily could have won the Michigan State game. And then I think they'd be 3-1 and everyone would be really excited. I understand that's not how it worked out. Football's a game of inches, but yeah, I like Boston College, I think, more than the general public. I like Boston College more than their record. And I don't think, I think Pitt's in for a bad year. I think they could lose this one, lose next week to FSU, be 2-4. Like I just don't like anything I've seen from Pitt this year.
Yeah, Boston College was up in that game in the fourth quarter, 24-21 against Cal. And Cal had a 50-yard touchdown pass with 1:30 left. But yeah, I just think it could be one of those things where Boston College plays more of the spoiler role as opposed to being that type of team that wins the games that you expect them to, as a touchdown and 2-touchdown favorite so far losing. So love Boston College here. And again, I feel like it's a bit of a contrarian play, and that's those are what we like to lean into when we identify the spot. All right, here's a game you like, and I elected to keep this one out of the newsletter because I just can't fade Rocco Becht, but I am so with you on Cincinnati Cincinnati against Iowa State at home. They're at home and they are a 1-point favorite. It's not very often you see an undefeated team as an underdog to a team that has a loss. Cincinnati's 3-1. Iowa State is 5-0. So I get it. This is kind of a spot that has to be played based off of the line. The total's around 56. It's a bit of a higher total. And also, I guess the one thing that should be noted, Iowa State's been pretty good against the spread. And so is Cincinnati. So what you got to like from Iowa State is their response after their bye week last against Arizona. Beat the piss out of them, 39-14. I like the under in that game. I'm glad I didn't play it because it went over. You always said if we're going to get involved with Rocco Becht, why take him out of the equation? It was Iowa State or nothing in that game. Good job by you. And Cincy, we hit at Kansas. 5.5-point dogs. I don't know that we knew that they were going to win outright. We knew the game would be close. They put together a really, really good late drive. And so far, they look like a much better team than what we saw week 1 on a neutral against Nebraska. So now they've got a big game here at home against a huge opponent. They're a 1-point favorite. Steak, you like Cincinnati. I'm going to go turn my air on real quick. Talk about it.
Yeah, I like Cincinnati, man. I just like Cincinnati's team. I think it's a rough spot the way they had to start the year against Nebraska, who I don't think is a bad team, in Arrowhead, where it was 90% Nebraska fans. And I think they rebounded real nicely. Like we talked about Cincinnati last week. We like Cincinnati, but I don't think either of us would have said we like Cincinnati if this game had 71 points. So honestly, what I was most impressed by is the fact that Cincinnati actually had the firepower to stay in this game with Kansas when it got into the 70s. Winning this game 37-34 at Kansas was really impressive to me. Sorsby had 400 yards. And I don't like playing the due theory necessarily, but do I think Iowa State's due for a stinker against an underrated football team and underrated quarterback? I kind of do, yeah.
It feels like the right play. But I know if for some reason Iowa State wins, we're going to be shooting ourselves in the fucking foot because we are Rocco Becht guys. And I feel like there's not many of us out there outside of where is Iowa State? Des Moines? No.
Ames?
That's what it is. Yeah. Des Moines, Iowa. Is Des Moines, Iowa a place?
Well, that's the capital, I think.
That's the capital. So what school? Is it Iowa there?
Yeah, it's weird because you would think if Des Moines was the capital that Iowa State would be there. Maybe it is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Tallahassee is the capital of Florida. Florida State is.
I think it's always like that.
Okay. Couple more noon games that are interested or that I'm looking forward to talking about, getting your opinion on. Michigan at Wisconsin. I wanted to get involved with this game, but you know what, Steak? I think we missed the boat, and I'll tell you why. Shame on us for not betting on Michigan when Sharon Moore is suspended, because that is when Michigan will come through. First two games, they don't cover as 34.5-point favorites against Mexico. They lose and don't cover as 4-point dogs on the road to Oklahoma. What do they do when Moore is suspended? Beat the piss out of Central Michigan, 63-3, 28-point favorites, cover easily. Then they go on the road and they take care of Nebraska. They were short favorite there. They won 30-27. Well, Moore's back. Now they're at home against Wisconsin. As much as I'd like to take them, I would kick myself if I miss out on the 2-0 ATS train with the interim head coach and then lose a unit because they can't cover against Wisconsin, where this dipshit head coach comes back. I don't like this guy. Never should have been hired to begin with, but I'm on Michigan for the year over win total and a long shot to win the Big Ten, which certainly isn't happening. Any chance Wisconsin could play a little or be a hungry dog? 17.5 points they're getting on the road. No.
I think
not a
Wisconsin
chance.
is an awful, awful team, and I wouldn't bet that. But remember, I said the same thing about Wake Forest last week, and they almost beat Georgia Tech outright. So this week, Wisconsin is my Wake Forest. So if you like them, don't let me talk you off. I'll tell you what, man. Who the fuck would look at this game, Wisconsin, Michigan, and not think it's an under? Doesn't Wisconsin, Michigan, especially these two teams, just sound like an under? And I kind of like the over, and I'm going to tell you why. I was impressed by Michigan's win with Nebraska because Nebraska got a Hail Mary at the end of the half and about 300 yards out of Dylan Raiola and still didn't win that game. And what I kind of saw from Michigan was a team who found their strength. I think it's hard when you have this 5-star superstar quarterback come in, but he's not ready to be like the main focal point of the offense. The main focal point of the Michigan offense is running the football, and they have huge plays running the football. I'm not talking like 5-6 yards here, 5-6 yards there. Michigan has huge fucking rushing plays, and they're disgusting on offensive and defensive line. I think Wisconsin goes in this game automatically knowing they're outmanned, and I don't think you're going to get like lame conservative Wisconsin. I think you're going to get aggressive Wisconsin, and I think that could lead to scores on defense for Michigan. And to be honest with you, I think both teams score a little bit, and I like over 43.5. I don't like a side at all.
Well, I'm kind of with you when you were talking about who's going to think over points in this game, but then I looked at the Pickett splits. Actually, surprisingly, more bets and money on the over. Yeah. But we do like to say the Pickett users who are betting this game 4,000 bets early in the week before kickoff are probably some of the sharper people. Also, nobody wanting to take a shot on Wisconsin and win this game money line is hilarious. And I think that is the smart thing to do, because I tried to get cute and take them to win on the road in Alabama. That was a horrendous wager. All right, Steak, talk to me about your Baylor Bears. They are 3-2 on the year. Touchdown favorite at home against Kansas State. Kansas State got right against UCF, but UCF is so bad. Steak, I didn't really think much about this game at first, but I wanted to tell myself, well, actually, no, I did get involved with UCF Kansas State. I took UCF's team total under. I got pretty lucky. I think it was like under 21.5, and they ended up with 20 or something like that. Kansas State won and covered 34-20, but it really wasn't that pretty. They came out of their bye week. They didn't look like a new team. Still kind of stink.
Stink. I have a thought though.
Okay, well, before I hand it off to you, I wanted to say I thought about taking Baylor in a landslide here.
What about if Kansas State knows their season's over? They're not making the playoff, even if they went out. They're probably not winning the Big 12, even if they went out. What if Kansas State starts playing good now that the expectations are completely dead? And, wouldn't that be kind of them, kind of Avery Johnson? Like, couldn't you see it? Also, I don't really love what I've seen from Baylor. They have a high-flying offense, but the defense is fucking miserable. And if this is a must-win for Baylor, too. If Baylor loses this one, they're 3-3 and 1-2 in the Big 12. They're not winning either. So I guess it's technically a must-win for both teams, but I'm kind of leaning Kansas State here, but I obviously won't let myself do it.
All right, I won't touch it then. Also, and I just remembered Avery Johnson's a running quarterback, and Jackson Arnold ran all over him in week 1. They are 3-2, Baylor, but they are not covering spreads. They are they're 1-4 ATS, and the only cover was in overtime against SMU.
They have one impressive win, and in that impressive win, they gave up 45 points.
Yeah, you're right. Very, very good point. 45-27 last week against Oklahoma State. They were 21-point favorites, did not cover. Okay, I'm off. Thank you very much for talking me off of that. We have another play in noon. I totally forgot. An official play. We're taking Purdue. We're taking Purdue at home against Illinois, and you're an Illinois guy. I still like them. Don't get me wrong. I'm not out on Illinois, but they They played well against USC, but they really almost blew it. And USC probably should have won the game. I bitched about this. Lincoln Riley and USC were driving. They were on the 16-yard line of Illinois, 2 minutes left. Instead of running the clock before scoring, they went end zone shot immediately, gave the ball back to Illinois. I think it was at that time, it was like 32-31, if I recall correctly, 32-31. And Illinois had all their timeouts and 2 minutes left. That is an eternity in college football.
Yeah.
Illinois goes down, kicks game-winning field goal. So you go from getting your ass kicked on the road to Indiana, you come back home, you beat USC as a touchdown underdog. So it's like vibes low, vibes high. Illinois probably wants to go on the road against Purdue. And obviously, nope, I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're going to go on the road and want to win this game. Of course they do. But you have to think that they are looking ahead a little bit to Ohio State next week. Illinois is
next week, USC and fucking Indiana the last 2 weeks. That's a brutal stretch.
Talk about that. And then in between those three tough opponents, you go to West Lafayette, and weird shit happens in West Lafayette. This Purdue team, shout out to one of our followers. I hope they're watching this YouTube video at some point and they comment because I want to give them credit. Somebody pitched, maybe it was Kyler the Whaler, pitched Purdue. I'm not saying they're good, but so far they're better. They're 2-2.
They're competent.
They're competent. They covered 20.5 at home against USC. And they got their ass kicked in Notre Dame. Sure, 56-30, but 30
points.
30 points on the road against Notre Dame. This is a Purdue team that is not just going to roll over. They're going to treat this game, I'm not going to say like their Super Bowl, but it's a big home game for them that's within reach. So I love taking a shot on Purdue here, 9.5. I don't know what it opened. It could have been a little bit better. Maybe we're late to the party. If you're big on CLV, don't listen to us. We don't give a shit. All right, winner's a winner. Steak, what do you like about Purdue?
So, well, first of all, I just want to say I fucking nailed Illinois last week and that line being an overreaction against USC because of how they got their ass kicked against Indiana. And I also want to give you a little pushback. I don't think it would be fair to say USC should have won the game because Illinois was up 31-17 going into the fourth quarter. I actually think if USC would have won the game, it would have been a massive choke job by Illinois. But either way, I came out of that thinking both these teams were good, which I already thought going in. Like, sure, maybe there's some issues for USC on defense, but that offense is dynamic. With that being said, I hate this spot for Illinois. I really, really hate it. And I think the spread is kind of telling you to hate it, if that makes sense. Because just as quick as Vegas hated Illinois, it feels like they love them again after they win as 6.5-point dogs outright against USC. And now they're just 8.5 against Purdue, who I don't think anyone respects yet. And I think it's telling you it's going to be I don't want to say sleepy because that would be a bad way to put it, but tricky spot. I'll call it a tricky spot for Illinois. And I will not be surprised if they win in a close one, like another game where it comes down to the field goal, maybe.
Yep. Okay. I like where your head's at. Let's go to the 1:00 slate. UTSA, who I'm a fan of because I like Owen McCown, although he did get injured, and I haven't really been following. I guess I've been kind of a bad investor here, but I took their over win total on the year. Not off to a great start. They're 2-2. One of those losses was expected. The other one against Texas State was not. But at Colorado State, they didn't do a whole lot. I'm going to go look at they got 13 first downs. That's terrible. Oh, McCown's in, and he is not really playing well. Shit. Well, looks like I was wrong about that guy. They're going on the road and playing Temple State. They're 6-point favorites. I was going to ask you, we thought about taking Temple when they were in that trap spot against Oklahoma and they got their ass kicked. I played Temple getting the points against Georgia Tech. They covered. What if that was the lowest point Temple was at that ass kicking at Oklahoma and they start to creep back in? I'm almost wondering if I like Temple as 6-point dogs at home, but I am looking, and UTSA didn't even cover 5 at Colorado State. So now it's like, does anybody want to lay the points with UTSA? Maybe not. No.
He wants to lay the points with UTSA playing in an NFL stadium against a team that just played Oklahoma and Georgia Tech. If anything, I like UTSA here.
Wow. Okay. You talked me off of it. Thank you. A couple of games that we're not going to give too much of a shits about, but let's run through it quickly. Virginia Tech, 6-point favorites at home against Wake Forest, total 51.
Is Virginia Tech back? Are they back? No, I'm just joking, kind of, but big, huge win against NC State is like 10-point dogs. They went outright. That was kind of predictable. I kind of hate us for knowing that was going to happen and not playing it. We're bitches for that. But Wake Forest competitive against Georgia Tech, and I'm just here to tell you, I promise you they're not as good as they played in that game. So I wouldn't be mad at anyone who wants to press Virginia Tech here because regardless of what you say, Virginia Tech's better than Wake Forest.
Steak. This is Wake Forest's first road game.
Is it really?
Really?
I hate that. We talked about this, bro, in our preseason thing. I faded Wake Forest, right? I have under 5.5 wins, Wake Forest, and this is what we talked about. They have the lamest schedule ever.
Kennesaw, which you took money line and they almost won 10-9. Western Carolina, NC State, you took NC State, they covered. It was close, they covered, and then Georgia Tech, who I wanted to take them. I didn't really even want to take Wake Forest. I wanted to fade Georgia Tech because that was their last game before a bye after a really
Which
tough
made
stretch.
sense, to be fair.
It was a letdown too. I think they just came up. Oh no, they played Temple after Clemson. So now, dude, this has to be played. It has to be played. We have to play Virginia Tech, Steak.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. 100%
fine.
All
right, we're playing Virginia Tech. There we go. Love it. Let's keep moving. Western Michigan, UMass, no thanks. Arizona State at a home against Oklahoma State, 20.5-point favorites. Any thoughts on that?
Arizona, right?
Yeah, Arizona at home. Yep.
Yeah, I have thoughts. I think Oklahoma State just covered against Baylor. Arizona just got belted by Iowa State. Bad match. I think we all agreed like Iowa State was dying for this bye and Arizona didn't really need it yet. And it was just a bad spot for them. Well, I think this is a good, really solid rebound spot for a team that I don't think anyone is lining up to bet in a rebound spot, if that makes any sense to you.
Sure.
I like Arizona huge, big here.
I was thinking the same thing. And we just saw the 20.5-point favorite not cover, right, against Oklahoma State at home with who did they just play? We literally just talked about this. Yeah. That's right.
I think it's actually more interesting that Baylor and Arizona are getting the same line respect.
Well, not really, because Baylor was on the road. Got
it. I thought that was at home. My bad.
Yeah, but I look at it too as like, oh, Oklahoma State just covered 20.5 against Baylor. They're people probably think they're better or just as good as Arizona. I know that it's I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of a reach, but yeah, I'm with you. I kind of like Arizona. I also just think Arizona might be a decent team, and that's a tough spot for them to go on the road and play in a place like Iowa State. Shame on us for not taking Iowa State -6. You're right. I like the under, which is so stupid. All right, couple of games. Miami of Ohio, 5.5-point favorite on the road against Northern Illinois. This is a matchup of 2 1-3 teams. I always tend to lean towards the team that's laying points in a matchup like this because I feel like the odds makers are seeing a bigger drop off on who's shittier when we just look at records, your average fan, and we don't really know the nuances of these teams. Any thoughts on Miami of Ohio?
Absolutely none, but I agree with what you're saying, but I don't.
All right, we're in the 3:30 slate. UConn is -7 against FIU. I don't know why we have so many people in the chat that talk about FIU, but any thoughts on UConn? They're 2-0 at home. Nope. Okay. Northwestern, 11.5-point favorites against Louisiana Monroe. Probably nothing to get involved with there. Okay, here are 2 games coming up. You got a thought on one, and I got a thought on the other. Let's start with yours. Vandy's on the road against Bama. You texted me you liked Vandy. I elected to keep it off because I thought to myself, you like Alabama, and I'm trying to do a better job. We're a team here. We are a unit. I'm trying to do a better job for all of us to remember what we said. You liked Alabama in the offseason. They had their slip up. And I think if you fast forward, that was the best thing that could have happened to Alabama because I tried to fucking fade them with double-digit dog with Wisconsin, and I watched it. Alabama looked great. They went on the road against Georgia. We like Bama. I didn't end up playing Bama. We like the under, which came through. But Bama wins. This, to me, if you're not a Bama supporter, if you're just an average person, you look to fade Bama in a letdown spot and take a really good 5-0 Vandy team. I am going to ring the alarm, and I think Vandy's a trap. Are you going to bet Vanderbilt?
I don't think you could possibly call this a letdown spot, and it's because this exact quarterback and this exact team beat them last year. But I have a reasoning for
that's right.
Yeah. And Diego Pavia talked a lot of shit after the game, talked a lot of shit on podcasts. And Diego Pavia's last team that owed him some revenge was Virginia Tech, and he beat their fucking ass. So I'm starting
South Carolina.
Yeah, I'm starting to think he's just built different. But I've also kind of put together that Diego Pavia is just a bad quarterback for Alabama to play because he's mobile, kind of like Tommy C. And do you remember the games they lost last year? Oklahoma against Jackson Arnold, mobile quarterback. South Carolina against Lenora Sellers, mobile quarterback. And I forget the other game. Diego Pavia. So yeah, that's who Kalen DeBoer's Alabama loses to. And then they can beat Kirby Smart in Georgia, which is pretty incredible. But I actually don't like the matchup for Alabama. So I have football reasonings too. I don't think it's a look ahead, and I think it's a really obvious revenge spot, similar to Virginia Tech, which I fell for the bait on. I do think Alabama finds a way to win, but I don't think it's by much.
Okay, so I respect that. You are choosing to respect Diego Pavia, and
It's time.
yeah, and you've paid to find out, and I've paid to find out more recently than you have, because I bet South Carolina. All right, I respect that. I don't feel as confident, I guess, in co-signing anybody to stay off, so I'll let you go ahead and walk into that one if you want to. Maryland and Washington. This was a game you didn't mention anything when you text me your reads here on the board, but
for sure.
I like Washington.
Cool.
So I think this is a lot of respect for Washington to be laying 6.5 on the road. Now, my concern here is, where have I seen this? Well, I saw it with USC at Illinois, and what happened? Illinois won outright. But I feel like this is a little bit different of a story, and I'll tell you why. In that game, Illinois was coming off of a loss, a really, really, really bad loss. So I feel like the adjustment made more sense because USC had looked good. This doesn't make as much sense because Wisconsin, Maryland, who's the dog at home by a touchdown, is coming off of a great win. They were 10-point dogs. They went outright on the road against Wisconsin, 27-10, and they're 4-0. Meanwhile, Washington just had their biggest game of the season. They were 10-point dogs. Sharps were all over them. Went down to 8, 7.5. CLV get fucked. And what happened? They lose 24-6. Pretty much almost to a T how I called it too. Played, what did I play in that game? The under or maybe OSU? Doesn't matter. Oh, Washington team total under. I like Washington now. After fading them when the Sharps were on them and got burned, I think this is a lot of respect. I think it's telling. I'm not giving up on this quarterback at Washington or this coach. I think this is not any sort of like walk in with your head down. I think this is a good week of practice. You get on the road, you get outside of your home environment. Sure, that game sucked. You flush it, and you get back out there against a team like Maryland who's not ready for this. I think Washington fucks them up. I hope you agree.
I don't disagree, and that's about as much as I can give you.
All right.
I like both these quarterbacks a lot, man. I'm actually looking forward to watching this game. I'm trying to figure out if a game between Damon Williams and Malik Washington having a 52.5 total is a little low, but that's not the point I'm trying to make. Malik Washington's good, man. He's really good. Almost 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception for a true freshman quarterback. I think that's really impressive at Maryland. And Damon Williams doing his job as well. He couldn't score against Ohio State. Neither could Arch Manning. Neither can most people. I think this defense might legitimately be better than last year. And I think this Ohio State team might legitimately be better than last year, which is just so unfair to the rest of us. But I don't know, man. I don't want to fade Malik Washington, really. And I kind of feel like you're not acknowledging how much this sucks. Like, having that game against Ohio State at home and then traveling across the country to go play at Maryland against a quarterback who might not be a household name yet, but is really fucking good. I just don't love the spot enough to co-sign it.
I don't love the spot either.
Yeah.
And then this is
you like the coach and the team. That's what I'm gathering.
Sure. I hate the spot, but that's kind of my point. It's a spot that I don't think you're not going to find one person on the street who says they like this spot for Washington. And then I look at the number 7, 6.5. Don't you think that's a lot?
It's 4.5 now.
Is it really?
Yeah. Which makes sense.
See, this is why sometimes I'm my bad. I should have cross-referenced this and I did not.
That's good. It was there. So
I know, but hold on. You're right. It is at 4.5. This is the Sharps that loved Washington against Ohio State are now going to fade them and take Maryland. I hate it.
You're going to take Washington. Cool. Hey, I support that. And when you put it that way, actually, it makes perfect sense.
Okay. Thanks a lot. App State favored against Oregon State. That's kind of interesting when you just look from a brand perspective. However, Oregon State's 0-5. Any interest in getting involved with this game?
I'd argue App State even got a better brand than Oregon State.
Yeah, I guess you're right. That is pretty funny.
Oregon State going into what is this? What's this called? Boone, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Talk about a bad spot. Hard fucking pass. I'll take App State. I don't even give a shit.
That line might be a little short now that I think about it. App State's only had one home game this year. Okay, Penn State
and Oregon State kept it close with Houston last week. Sorry to cut you off.
Okay. Penn State 25-point favorites. 25-ish actually. Let me reference picking. By the way, if you're watching the video still, give it a like, comment, engage, subscribe to the page. We really appreciate that. Download Pickett as well. We are presented by Pickett Sports. Sync your sports books and track all your wagers. Use promo code DGen whenever you do. 48.5 Steak. Is this a bounce back spot nobody's talking about? Penn State's going here and fuck up UCLA.
We're not talking about it. I'll tell you that. Fuck Penn State. Fuck James Franklin. Fuck Nico Iamaleava, and fuck both these teams.
Yep. All right. I'm with you. I wouldn't mind UCLA maybe to get shut out in this game. This could be like a 20
team total 12.5. I will warn you, not warn you, but the cover 3 guys are all over UCLA team total under.
Oh, are they?
Yes.
I did not listen to cover 3 yet, so thank you for pointing that out. Please do as we go along through the board.
I didn't talk about what else they keep talking about because I think it's the next game we're going to talk about.
Texas, Florida?
Nah, Boise State, Notre Dame.
You want to talk about that one next?
Yeah, no, let's do Texas, Florida. I can't wait for that one.
All right. So Texas was 7. I believe they were 7. Again, do your own homework. Don't rely on us. We don't use, we use Pickett. We use Wager Talk. We use covers. I know there's actual services that'll give you opening numbers and line movement, everything like that. But Pickett does have the splits here, which are tracked, which we do use. We just don't know the openers as well. Texas is now sitting at 4.5. I think they were 7 or 6.5. So the Sharps like Florida.
Yeah, the Sharps like the Gators again. Sharps ain't that sharp if they keep finding their way to Billy fucking Napier.
Here's what I'll say. I danced my song with Florida. All right. I took Florida out on the dance floor and I had a horrible time.
Yeah.
All right. I'll never
got 2 left feet.
There you go. I'll never do it again. Ever.
Good.
Did I want to when I looked at this game coming into the week? Sure. Am I going to? No, absolutely not. I'm out. If anything, I'd probably lean Texas here, or I maybe would lean under.
See the tweet I sent you?
No.
Florida is the most bet side of the week.
Oh, my God.
The Sharps love Florida, dude. And that's just to prove you that don't ever convince yourself that the Sharps know ball or know more than you do. They just are looking for a number and they keep finding whatever they're looking for with Florida and it keeps not paying out and they keep doing it. Well, let me just tell you, Florida Gators fucking suck, specifically offensively. But most importantly, Billy Napier is an awful coach. And putting your money on him is a horrible, horrible idea. I don't care if you win the bet. If you put your money on Billy Napier, I don't respect you. And if I would have told you at the beginning of the season that the game between Arch Manning and DJ Lagway, 2 of the top 5 or 6 guys in Heisman odds, had a total of 42.5, you would have thought I was fucking crazy. So I don't know what to like. I originally kind of thought this could be the Arch Manning coming out game, but I don't want to disrespect this Gators defense who shut down Carson Beck, only team to do that. Shut down fucking Nussmeier. A few teams have done that, but still it's not impressive. And I like Texas. Yeah, I'll probably play Texas, man. And I'm probably going to grab it now because I wouldn't be surprised if it's one of those ones that goes down during the week, and then by the time kickoff comes back, you're at like 7.5 again, wondering why the fuck you didn't grab the 4.5 or whatever it's at right now. So yeah, I like Texas, and I probably bet it the second we stop streaming this.
Notre Dame, Arkansas.
Yeah, Notre Dame, Arkansas.
Down to 3.5, and then Notre Dame went back to 5.5. The head fake of the century.
That's the problem is, man, I get why people like Arkansas, and I don't get why people like the Gators.
I do. Arch Manning has not looked good. And
No. I get why people don't like Texas. I'm saying, why would anyone like the Gators? Just the Gators.
I think you're fading Texas laying a touchdown.
Okay, got it. Cool.
That's what I would think.
That's fine then.
Okay. Yeah, good stuff though. Great rant. I might clip that later. I think that's a good one for Twitter. Okay. Let's go to the next game here. So this will be the one that you were talking about. Cover 3 had some thoughts on. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Well, I should double check the line now. Sorry, that'll just take me an extra second, but you're right. I do want
20.5.
20.5. The total is 63-ish against Boise State, the Boise State Broncos. Steak, I want you to lead this one off. I do a bunch of talking to set the stage. Tell me what you've heard about Notre Dame, what you're thinking about Notre Dame.
Well, originally I liked Notre Dame, to be honest, and it was strictly for football reasons because they belt to ass Arkansas, and then I sort of had this reminder of what they could be because I liked most of what I saw from Arkansas, with the exception of losing to Memphis, who I, once again, think is a very good football team. But then I started to think, like, okay, what's the one thing you keep hearing everyone say about Notre Dame? It's that they have run out of room. They have no more losses. And not only do they have no more losses to they have to win these games with style points. That's what everybody keeps saying. And then you get the cover 3 guys coming on and saying, oh, we all like Notre Dame, because even if they're up 7 or 14 going into the fourth quarter, they need style points to impress the playoff committee to get in at 10-2 or whatever they'll be if they win out. And I've heard that enough to know that I like Boise State this week. I don't know how they're going to get it done. I really don't. I think it's going to have to be exposing this Notre Dame defense a lot more than, I mean, Arkansas scored their fair share of points, but they certainly weren't impressive. Their defense was awful. So I guess maybe it's going to have to be playing better defense than Arkansas played, which I do think Boise State's capable of. And I don't think it's too big of an ask to ask Boise State to keep it close to South Bend against this Notre Dame team that I think is slightly above average, but not very good. And I wouldn't call it a playoff team. I have a feeling you wouldn't either. Probably just outside a playoff team, if we're being honest, 15 to 20 type of thing. So yeah, I am fading the style points narrative, and I'm taking Boise State plus 20.5. Absolutely.
Steak, very well said. I think that you look at this stretch of games that you have for Notre Dame coming up here at home: Boise State, NC State, USC. I'll tell you the game they're not going to drop and they're not going to overlook, and that is USC. So then you have Boise State and you have NC State. And here's where I'm going with this. NC State is an ACC opponent, okay? ACC opponents Notre Dame is kind of affiliated with. They play a handful of ACC opponents every year. When those ACC opponents come in to Notre Dame typically kicks their ass, especially like FSU or Virginia or something like that. The team that they would probably slip up to, because as we know, this is what Notre Dame does. They slip up to the Northern Illinois. They slip up to the Marshalls. That team this year would be Boise State. And especially a Boise State team, which I don't know that they had high expectations, but they had decent expectations coming into the season. And they got off to a terrible start. A little Alabama-ish, if you will. 4.5-point favorites, got their ass kicked. But what have they done since that? Won and covered every single game. App State, Air Force, Eastern Washington, nobody worth the shit, but it doesn't matter. Nobody really cares about Boise State anymore because of what they did in week 1. Notre Dame has to win every game. They're not going to necessarily come out and not bring a good effort. I don't think that. But I think the Boise State team that nobody's taken seriously is going to treat this as their Super Bowl, which most teams do. When they take a trip to Notre Dame, it's like a once-in-a-lifetime place to play. Fans are going to travel well. The team's going to play hard. I'm with you. I think Boise State, unfortunately, keeps this game close and gives the Irish a bit of a scare. And you can do that against this Notre Dame defense. Purdue put up 30, but the Irish offense is legit. And you should probably sell high against back-to-back 50-point performances against a putrid Arkansas team that had given up on Sam Pittman.
Yeah.
With you. All right, quickly. Buffalo, EMU, SMU, 17.5 against Syracuse. Anything in these games?
Nah, unfortunately, Angeli injury is absolutely going to stifle the Syracuse Orange because the backup's really bad. And that sucks ass because they were looking like they're going to turn out a really cool season.
Yep. Yeah, that is a bummer. I was a huge Angeli guy. I wish him well. And honestly, if he heals up, comes back, and plays well, I'll be rooting for him to get drafted and potentially even bet on him in the draft if I can. Nebraska 11.5 at home against Michigan State. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm such an idiot. I forgot a 3:30 game that we both like. Louisville at home against Virginia. Your Virginia Cavaliers, great job. You liked them against FSU. Stood on business. They did not only cover, but they won. But now they go on the road to Louisville, and I'm very glad you aligned with me on this because I'm a Louisville guy. Got over their win total. They're 4-0, looking good, but not necessarily looking that great because they're 1-3 ATS and they have not been flashy. But I love that they woke up and won that game against Pitt. They probably had no business winning that game. They shut Pitt out in the second half, and your boy Miller Moss woke the fuck up. That running game, which is one of the best in college football. Isaac Brown, 13 carries, 20 yards. Nothing was working. Miller Moss put the team on his back. 340 yards passing, 3 touchdown passes. And I was watching some of it. He went on the sideline. He was fired the fuck up. I think with a good coach, good quarterback that finally is starting to find a little bit of a rhythm, passing their biggest test so far on the road, coming back home against a team like Virginia, who is not a letdown, but obviously you're coming off a huge emotional win against FSU. Smash spot for Louisville. I chose to get cute in our newsletter. We're taking the team total over because you have been right about Virginia. Chandler Morris is a bad motherfucker. And I just don't want to get backdoored with the 6.5, 7. And Louisville's defense is not that great. But I want to hear your thoughts on this game.
These are my guys, dude. It's crazy. These are my fucking dudes, Chandler Morris and Miller Moss. I'm just going to go with the fact that I liked Virginia coming into the year. I liked them against FSU. I don't think they're a better team than Louisville by any means. I think
Mhm.
Louisville's a better team. However, they've performed much more poorly than Virginia has. Virginia's been impressive. Even in the loss to NC State, they were impressive. Louisville's been impressive in none of their games. Their JMU win wasn't impressive. This Pittsburgh win wasn't impressive. There's never been a time when you're like, wow, this team looks good. Except I'm not really willing to give up on them yet. And so maybe you could call it stubborn, but I think this Louisville team could be really good. And I think it might be kind of motivating to know that you haven't played your best football yet, but you're 4-0. So it's almost like a little break from the football gods, because you should have probably you played bad enough to lose if you're not playing Eastern Kentucky or Bowling Green or James Madison or even Pitt. Like I said, I don't think Pitt's very good. So I kind of think you see it a little bit as a new lease on life, and you get going, you get right. Like you said, Miller Moss did last week, 300 plus yards passing. We know they're fucking capable of it. We know they have one of the better running backs in the conference. We know Miller Moss is a dog. And I just think this is a belt to ass spot. And I hate to say it, because if I'm wrong and I faded my Virginia Cavaliers, I'll be sad, but I really genuinely believe this is belt to ass.
I agree. And that's why the 33.5, it's a high number, but it kind of reminds me, it gives me deja vu of the Notre Dame team totals we played about 3 times last year. And every time they were 33.5, they did the job. And more often than not, they would cover those games as well. I like the offense big in that one. And that's our official play, but we like the spread as well. Nebraska, 11.5 point favorites at home against Michigan State. You got anything you like there, Steak? Total 50.
Not really, man. I don't know if you do. I don't really like anything in this game.
The only thing I was going to say is it would be in poor taste of me to not say that I do give Nebraska a little bit of credit for fighting in that game against Michigan. And you do a pretty good job at this, but like you look at a team schedule and you always say like, there's got to be one opponent, there's got to be one spot for them to show up and show out. And, you know, I'm looking at Nebraska's schedule, like they're going to have a game at home against Iowa and USC, but those are the games they lose.
Those are the games they usually lose. But Dylan Raiola has been good this year.
I know, but that's my point, Steak, is I'm wondering if there's this perfect timing of a Nebraska team that we can bet on to beat opponents they are better than, and it's not a 50-50 type of game, because the odds told you that Michigan was the better team. They were favored going into Nebraska. Nebraska's double-digit favorites to Michigan State. Who feels comfortable laying 11.5 with Dylan Raiola in Nebraska after a loss against Michigan State, who's really been feisty?
Yeah, I don't disagree.
If this was 9.5, I would like Michigan State.
Was USC like minus 17.5 against Michigan State at home?
Yep.
So on a neutral, USC would be 6-point favorites against Nebraska?
Yep.
But I guess they were 6-point favorites against Illinois, so that can't be too surprising. Okay, I like what you're saying.
I'm looking on Pickett right now for the best line possible, and you cannot find anything less than a 10.5 for Michigan State. I think that's telling. If they were giving you 9.5 under that key number of 10, I think it's a key number. Yeah, I would say no thanks, but I think that is telling. All right, we're getting into the night slate here. We're coming up on 53 minutes, a little bit longer than usual, but a couple of games that were really worth diving into there. Let's see what we've got. Steak. Houston at home hosting Texas Tech. Texas Tech is rolling 4-0. Houston's 4-0. You got anything you like there? 11.5 point favorites. You do? Okay. Total 51.5. What do you like?
I'm going to take Houston. And I promise I know you're not going to like it. I knew you weren't going to like it. That's why I started to defend myself immediately, because I knew you'd react this way. I totally understand why. I'm going to take one more stab at fading Texas Tech. And I don't hate doing it against Houston, who just damn near had a slip up against Oregon State, one of the worst teams in the fucking country, on a weird spot Friday night. And now you're back. You're home, 7 p.m. Saturday night against Texas Tech. I'm sure there'll be a fair share of Red Raiders fans there, but I think it should be a really good atmosphere. And I'll take our fucking boy Weigman to keep it close.
Okay. All right. I respect it. Wyoming plus 3.5 at home, night game against UNLV. You like Wyoming? I
like Wyoming. I think Miami of Ohio was the right play when we played it against UNLV.
Yeah.
Didn't hit. It's fine, but I'm a little butthurt about losing that one.
Sure.
I think I'm fading a team that plays their home games at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, going to Wyoming at War Memorial Stadium in Laramie. I will take that team plus 3.5. I don't care how chalky or basic that sounds. I don't think this is a good spot for UNLV at all.
I'm good with that too, because UNLV on the road in Miami of Ohio, they were, we liked Miami of Ohio. I don't think it was an official play for us, but Miami was up 38-24 going into that fourth quarter, and they just shit the bed.
Correct.
UNLV outscored them 17-0 in the fourth. So,
Yeah.
I'm with you. Weird place to play. We've already seen UNLV struggle outside.
Gritty win for UNLV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, 4-0 and 3-1 ATS. All right, Texas A&M at home, 16-point favorites against Mississippi State. I don't know, man. You tell me. You know what I want to do? I want to not overthink this like Syracuse at Clemson. Texas A&M is not Clemson, though. They're a good team, but I don't think they're a great team. I don't think Marcel Reed's a great quarterback. They're 4-0, but they're 1-3 ATS. I know the line's probably telling you that Texas A&M is going to whoop that ass against Mississippi State because Mississippi State is 4-1 and 5-0. But Steak, I don't know how many people are really, really valuing and respecting this Texas A&M team. It wouldn't surprise me if it was A&M was like a really public play, I guess I would say. So I know that a team like Mississippi State with that record getting that many points seems like it would be a trendy dog. And look, I'm going to show you the picket splits. You've actually got more bets and money on Texas A&M. That makes sense to me.
Does make sense to me. This was the worst team in the SEC last year, and I don't think they've done enough yet. Even though I'm paying attention, I see that they could have beat Tennessee. I see that they beat Arizona State. I see that they're 4-1, which is already double their win total from last year. All that shit's amazing, but I'm the guy who has a man crush on Jeff Lebby and thought Blake Shapen was a great fit. So it's hard for me to fade, but I hate the line and I hate the spot. I think this is too big of an ask. And do I think Texas A&M might absolutely beat their ass? Yes, I absolutely do.
Fuck. You're an A&M respecter, aren't you?
I'm becoming one for sure. Yeah, I don't want to just keep fading them like we did with, like I know what was the final score of the Auburn game? Did we get lucky?
Got it. Yeah, we got lucky.
Yeah,
6.5,
I don't think
they lost by 6.
I think maybe we should sit this one out.
Okay. TCU 13.5 at home against Colorado. Anything?
No.
Yeah, me neither. All right, big one at night. Miami's on the road against FSU. Miami's laying 4. You're a Miami guy. So far, you're looking great. 4-0, 3-1 ATS. You got him to win the Natty. You got Carson Beck to win the Heisman. Nice CLV on that one. I think he's the second favorite. Miami's look great. Little ugly against Florida, but so far they look really good. 4-point favorites on the road against FSU, and FSU just slipped up against Virginia. I kind of like going back to a team that just slipped up in their look-ahead spot. But is this a duping? Our guy Pranav with Pickett, shout out Pickett, said this should be my R bet spot, which is a joke for all you fucking R bettors out there.
But he's right.
But he's right. Either Miami's going to whoop that ass and I'm going to alt this to 16.5, or FSU is going to win outright. You agree?
100%. That's exactly how I feel. I thought it was funny when he said that because it's precisely how I feel. I'm not trying to be cute when I say this, but I just think it's like literally a better team. Miami is better. They've gotten so good this year on the offensive and defensive line. They're a really solid football team that I still genuinely believe can be a championship contender. And then there's an X factor at quarterback. If Tommy C can show up like he did against Alabama, I think Florida State will be tough to beat. And so I'm tempted to just take Florida State plus 4.5 and see if we get that Tommy C.
First road game, but don't forget Miami does not leave the state of Florida until November 1st.
Yeah, but this is sure as fuck a road game.
Absolutely. Yeah. FSU is going to be fucking rowdy. It should be a great game to watch. And
honestly, FSU at home against Alabama, so far from what I've seen, the most impressive home atmosphere I've seen this year, I think.
Yeah. No, I couldn't. I totally agree. And listen, I mean, even though FSU lost that game, like they against Virginia, they still battled. And Tommy C is a guy that I don't like putting money against. But Miami is a pretty well-oiled machine. Sure. In the trenches too. So Ohio State 24 against Minnesota. Minnesota just fucked us last week. We had a -4.5. They won by 3. Any thoughts on this one? Could be an ass whooping that Ohio State really hasn't lashed out yet or given to anybody.
They haven't had like an offensive outlashing yet, and I don't want to try to time it up, but I also don't want to fade it. So I'm 100% not playing this game. I would lean towards just backing Ohio State's offense.
Okay, team total there. Kansas on the road at UCF, 4.5-point favorites. I kind of like UCF here, but UCF is bad, and I don't want to bet on bad teams. There's plenty of other bets out there. What do you think?
Jalen Daniels is balling, man.
I know.
18 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's crazy. What about an under? Nasty under.
That is a nasty under, isn't it? Yeah, that is a real nasty under. Things get weird in Central Florida.
Yeah. Yeah, things get weird in Central Florida. No one knows that more than us.
Yeah, 34-9 when with UNC at home for UCF, and then 17-10 with Jacksonville State. Sure. Fuck it. Put me in for the
UCF home unders. You heard it here first.
last game, Steak. Duke on the road against Cal. Cal
Yeah.
coming off that big win against Boston College, which we talked about earlier. You like Duke?
I like Duke. I just like Duke. Not even in this game specifically. I just think they're better than their record, 3-2. Obviously, they got their ass whipped by Illinois and Tulane. I like this Duke team. I think they're pretty solid, man. And here on the road, I think a lot of people are going to see it as a weird travel spot because it is. I think people are really getting hip to this JKS kid. What did they just do? Beat Minnesota out? No. What did Cal just do? They beat Boston College outright at 6.5-point dogs. So he keeps showing up, except for that one stinker they had. They're 4-1. I think a lot of people will take Cal, the phenom freshman, and the points at home with the team traveling across the country.
I'm going to disagree with you on this one.
Totally
and I don't know that we've really butted heads too much in this episode, but I'll go to war with you here. And I did fade Duke on the season, but I'm man enough to admit that so far they look like a pretty good team. They could have beaten Illinois, and that's funny to say because it was such a fucking ass whooping on the scoreboard. Made it close against Tulane, had a nice showing against NC State, 45-33, but they got pretty lucky with not having to play in jelly on the road against Syracuse. Took care of them 38-3. You know what I think? This is a really bad spot, not because they're going to California. This is their second road game in a row, and it's the third one in 4 weeks. And Steak, this is the 6th game of the season for the Duke Blue Devils with no bye week.
Yeah.
They got to bye next week, and then they play Georgia Tech. Cal's coming back from the East Coast. Sure. I think this line's short as fuck.
Really?
I think this line is short as fuck. Is it still? It's 2.5. 2.5. Yes, sirree. I like Cal, but I'm not going to bet it. I'm already invested. I hope Cal wins the game. All right. Fresno State, Nevada, Memphis, Tulsa. I don't really think we have anything there. I think we covered everything. Does that sound about right?
Probably Memphis belt to ass, to be honest. But yeah, we covered everything.
All right, everybody. Steak, great job. Our episode. Enjoy college football week 6, halfway through the season. Cherish every Saturday, every second of it. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.